Okay, and now we're live. Phew. I'm sorry, guys. We're running behind tonight. It's just me in the studio. Mostly the last couple minutes there, I was running off to get some more coffee. There's a few things I want to talk about tonight. Apparently, the Donald is in more hot water because he retweeted a GIF. And it's hilarious. So CNN's talking about how Donald Trump retweeted a GIF. Who cares that a bunch of hurricanes just blew through and there's a few more behind them? Neil deGrasse Tyson, of course, says that this is all a sign that global warming has gone way too far. We have an interesting new White Hats Matter tonight, and I know you're going to want to stick around for that. So, without further ado, it's just me and you. Let's knock this out. All right. So, hey, Lucas, I'm glad to see you, brother. Oh, and I fixed the sound issue, I think. So let me know if the title sequence came through sounded a lot better. It should sound a hell of a lot better. There was I went back and watched last week's video. There's not much I can do about it other than chop that sequence out. But I heard that bad echo, that bad tinny echo that was in there. And for those of you that know me well, it's hilarious because this is my bad ear. I can't hear shit with that one. Anyway, let's start here. The Donald retweets GIF of him hitting Hillary Clinton with golf ball. So this article, GIF shows Trump retweeted spliced together footage of Trump taking a swing on a golf course with footage of Clinton tripping and falling as she boarded a plane. And it's edited to make it appear as though Clinton is hitting the back with a golf ball before her fall. I haven't read the article yet. I read the headline. Let me just go ahead and guess. It was in poor taste. It's not presidential. I would almost bet you money that the sentence "condones violence against women" is going to appear in this article, because of course we know on the left, if you have an identity, then that identity is fully and completely defined and entirely generic. And so, of course, no black people vote Republican. No transgendered people are racists. No racists are not white. Blah, 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 blah. So if it's funny to hit a traitor in the back with a golf ball, then, of course, that's the same as hating all women. Let's see what happens. So, revealed the president still reverting to his old social media habits, those likely to earn him quick criticism. Kelly has not sought to stop Trump from tweeting. He has encouraged the president to allow him to vet the tweets before posting them. Sometimes acquiesced, the Trump has. Did not immediately respond to a request for comment Sunday. A spokesperson for Hillary declined to comment on the tweet. Former Office of Government Ethics Director Walter Schaub criticized administration about political conflicts of interest before resigning in July. Slammed Trump for the retweet. Just retweeted a video vignette that imagines him assaulting his political rival. The man is unfit. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sharon. I saw you in the chat earlier and I couldn't. My hands were busy. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. But I hope you were enjoying a steaming hot cup of coffee from your lovely "The Enemy is Filled with Chewy Nougats" mug. Anyway, this, we don't even need to read these articles really. I bring this one up though, because the obsession The media obsession with whatever the hell Trump is tweeting, it's just hilarious to me. Here's the thing. These screwball jackals are so obsessed that I'm not certain that they understand that the simple fact of the matter is this. The Donald is playing them like a damn fiddle. And that is hilarious. Really, you're gonna burn column inches on stories about what Donald Trump tweeted. I wonder what else he's up to. Oh, let's see. There's tax reform in play. There's tax reform underway. And do we have any major military security concerns? Oh, North Korea is going fully freaking nuclear. Okay, so you're talking about the tweets and you're not paying attention. Hey, it works for me. And those assholes aren't watching my show. You guys are. So if you hear your buddies who used to be Trump supporters or whatever, they're twisting this way or that way, if your friends who liked the Donald are starting to get concerned whenever he tweets crap, remind them he is playing the enemy like a fiddle. They're distracted, and that is wonderful. We are in the mess we are in, particularly and precisely because Barack Obama was such a narcissist that he felt it useful to stroke his own ego by publishing classified information. Troop movements are classified. Planned troop movements are classified. If you're going to move your entire military out of a combat zone, there's a reason that shit is classified, because the enemy is paying attention. And if you tell them that you're going to leave, they're going to wait for you to leave. And more importantly, and as we've seen more dangerously, they understand that a military stand down, it's not like everybody gets on one plane and takes off at the same time. They understand that in the process of the stand down, there's going to be a point at which the security is all that's left, and that is dwindling. That's how we get shit like ISIS. So I'm going to be beating a dead horse a little bit here, but I want to remind you, since I've gotten myself off on this tangent talking about Trump playing them, and we've gotten around to ISIS. Let me just remind you for a minute about why I personally, and everyone else should, who's paying attention, I detest the word terrorist and what it has come to be used as. The way that the word terrorist has come to be used grossly undersells what the enemy is. Al-Qaeda are terrorists. BLM are terrorists. The KKK, the Black Panthers, those Antifa, those are terrorist organizations. Those are ideological, utterly quixotic, ideologically driven and motivated organizations that use terror as a tactic. Okay? Terror is not an ideology. Terrorism itself is not an ideology. Groups that use terror tactics are ideological. You know, obviously Al-Qaeda, the ideology is strict constructionist interpretive Islam. Black Lives Matter, the ideology is black racial supremacy. Black Panther, same thing. The KKK, the ideology is an utter dedication to the Democrat voting platform. And they're not even really white supremacists, white purists. The only reason the KKK were ever mostly white is because the original foundation of the KKK was centered around preventing recently freed slaves from voting. The 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 accident of ethnicity around the KKK had much less to do with the actual question of ethnicity and much more to do with the question of who was allowed voting rights based on their previous status of indenture. Um, it's almost coincidental that the majority of slaves that were freed at the time were black slaves, and that has that. I mean, I can go into slavery with you another time, but just never forget that the entire concept of chattel slavery, whereby slaves are owned like a property, and the master has the ability to sell and trade the slaves, was to the white man a novel concept when they began moving into dark Africa. Prior to that, slavery was a state of welfare recipiency, essentially. You didn't really there wasn't really a trade around slavery in like Greece and Rome. You held slaves as they were household servants that were working in the household because they didn't have another way to clothe and feed and shelter themselves. It was, I can't get a job. Okay, well, you can do this, or you can be, you can be slave bound as an artisan's apprentice and learn a trade. But yeah, they don't like to talk about that, do they? Anyway. I'm a terrible tangent, and I apologize. Tangents are terrible. Obviously, the Antifa ideology is fascism. It's what they do. For all I know, I could have been a black slave in a past life. Meh, that's fair. And now you've distracted me, Lucas. Okay, Antifa. So the Antifa, their ideology, as we've learned very, very clearly, is a fascist ideology. Essentially, they, as much as I talk about how ridiculous it is to call people Nazis, let's just talk about Antifa for just a minute. They have a red and black flag. They're militant. They dress all in black. They hide their faces. They use violence to get their message across. And what was the most recent thing that Antifa did in the headlines? Oh, let's see. Let's see what Antifa has been up to. Could it be that Antifa just showed up at, I don't know. Would you look at that? Antifa shows up to protest at Berkeley. And who are they protesting? What did they show up to do? Let's get our red and black flags and let's go shut up the Jew. Oh no, the Jew's going to get to speak. That's who Antifa is. They're scared to death that this little bitty Jewish guy is going to get to say things. And people might hear it. That's anti-fascism. That's anti-fascism. They're here to shut down the Jew. Come on, guys. This is what left-wing violence is for. Oh, literally, this is where we are. Left-wing violence, as they're crying Nazi, Nazi, Nazi at everybody. Left-wing violence is being employed to silence the Jew. That's what we've come to, guys. This is the world that Hillary Clinton was begging people to vote for. I'm telling you, just like I've said the last few weeks in a row, Antifa and the left in general. Yeah, the alt left. Let me tag that for a minute. The left is denying that there is a thing that is the alt left. They're adamant that there's an alt right, but also that there is not an alt left. And I agree. I completely agree. There is not an alternative or alt left. Nope. In fact, the evidence quite clearly shows that Hillary and Bernie and TYT, the Young Turks, they're not alt left. They are not alt left. They are just the left. You see, what's going on with this whole alt-right thing, like I've said the past few weeks in a row, the swastika is the new Star of David. The left has decided that their best move, their last move, their desperate swing is that the world must be made to believe that all people on the right are racist, bigots, sexist, homo, the basket of deplorables, the whole thing. And we're going to talk about the caveat, the caveat culture in just a minute too. But they've decided that we must all be labeled, we must all be branded with the swastika. So what they're doing is actually worse in a way than what Hitler did with the Jews. So Hitler made it quite clear in Mein Kampf, the Jews never mattered to him. He did not have a problem with them in particular. He needed a scapegoat at which to target the German people in order to unite them in a cause. And the Jewish people at the time happened to be wealthy. Sound familiar? Eat the rich. It was all about eat the rich. It was all about, here's a target. These people have more money than you do. Let's kill them all. And it didn't start that way. It started with, let's take the most violent and aggressive criminals. Let's take the most aggressive and violent criminals and let's execute them because they're taking up too much space at the prisons. They cost money to feed and house, so on and so forth. And once they killed off all the seriously terrible violent criminals, then they started executing lesser criminals and eventually political dissidents, and then they needed a target. So they went after the Jews. I remember when the adage, I'm paraphrasing enormously, they came for the monsters, and I wasn't a monster, so I didn't notice. They came for the bad guys, and I wasn't a bad guy, and I didn't notice. They came for the Jews, and well, I wasn't Jewish, so I said nothing. They came for the Poles, and I wasn't Polish, so I said nothing. And then they came for me, and there was no one to speak up. That's where we're headed. That's where they're taking us with this. Okay? And that's a problem. That's a big damn deal. Now, I bring that up in this whole spiel about protesting Ben Shapiro, the branding us with the swastika and pretending like every conservative, especially this compilation, straight white male, and I'm sure that I'm automatically also Christian. I must be the most terrible thing that ever lived, and I obviously need to be put in a concentration camp and burned to death along with my favorite Jewish lawyer. Well, second favorite Jewish lawyer. Sorry, Morris. And the Young Turks, nope, they're not alt-left. They are just the left. You see, the Nazi Party was not the alt-left. They were just the left. The Nazi Party was that was the Socialist Party at the time. That was the anti-free market party, the anti-capitalism party. The fascists weren't even German. The fascists weren't even Nazis. The fascists were Mussolini's Italians. The fascists and the Nazis didn't get along so great. Fascism and Nazism are not the same thing. But we've got these Antifa guys shouting, fascist, Nazi. Of course, everything they do is fascism, is authoritarianism. What are we supposed to do with that? Well, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free people, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason. The Second Amendment holds up the First Amendment. And what are they coming after? The First Amendment. The First Amendment, it's amazing to me. It is just staggering how poorly understood our First Amendment privileges are among so many very young Americans. It guarantees the right, it guarantees that the state shall establish no official religion, nor prevent us from the free practice thereof. The freedom of the people to speak shall not be abridged. The Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a single religion or restricting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the freedom of the press, or the right of the people to petition the government for redress of grievances. So what does the First Amendment not do? It gives you the right to speak. It does not give you the right to be heard. And it certainly does not give you the right to silence someone. Now take Kaepernick, for example. He's popped up in the news again, I'm sure. Yeah, I just saw a Kaepernick headline a minute ago. Let's take Kaepernick, for example. Says he's ready to play. Oh God, those evil white men at the NFL. They fired poor Kaepernick because he tried to exercise his First Amendment right. Wrong. For starters, the son of a bitch quit his job. The fact that he can't get another one, if you walked into my McDonald's and asked me for a job, and the reference that you gave me was Burger King next door, and he told me you walked out in the middle of your dinner shift, I'm sorry, sweetheart. I just don't have a place for you. If you walked off of my field in the middle of your contract, I'm going to tell people that. Because if someone calls me and asks me the question, I may not advertise it. You know, that's our business. I don't need to share it around. But if asked, I'm not going to lie to my buddy that owns another football team and tell him you were a stand-up guy, especially if you didn't stand up. But these arguments, when Kaepernick says America is an unjust place because it's a bunch of racists, and I'm not going to dig too deep into, I'm not going to dig into why he's wrong as he could be on that. Excuse me. But the response, of course, when we argue with him and say, no, you're wrong, your opinion is just incorrect. Your facts are wrong, your argument is weak. And he has the right to say he has the right to speak. Yes, he has the right to express his opinion. That does not preclude my right to disagree with his opinion vocally. I have the right to express my opinion as well. His right to speak is not the right to be heard, and it is not the right to go without criticism. Now, to be clear, Colin Kaepernick, the private citizen, has the First Amendment right to the freedom of speech. Colin Kaepernick, the employee of the 49ers football organization, may not enjoy that right depending on the restrictions of his contract, a contract into which he entered voluntarily. If you work for a private company and that private company has standards of etiquette, standards of dress, standards of, he wears the football uniform. He conforms to an identity that is prescribed by the organization. If the organization does not want him to say certain things, that is perfectly within their right. So no, Colin Kaepernick, the 49ers football player, did not necessarily have the right to speak freely. Although Colin Kaepernick, this private citizen, absolutely does. Now, the fact that he hasn't been hired for another football club yet, well, that's because he's a shitbag. And if you can't be trusted, you can't be trusted. Shit doesn't have to be complicated. So let me pull it back in, get myself back under control. And yes, Sharon, you're correct. He's a mediocre player, apparently. I really only know that because it's been explained to me by the guy that sits over here and the guy that sits over here. But I'm just not much of a football guy. But let's talk a little bit about the caveat culture. I am sick to death of hearing people start their sentences with phrases like these. Now, I don't hate gay people, but, or I'm not a racist, but, or look, I like everybody. I don't have a problem with anybody based on their religion, race, color, ethnicity, creed, faith, national origin, sexuality, sexual identity, and going down the list of caveats. I'm tired of it. Knock it off. It's useless, and it doesn't serve a purpose other than to chain you and hamper your freedom of speech. Remember this. If you get nothing else out of listening to me yammer at you for the last 2 years, offense is never given. You, as a person, cannot cause another person to be offended. You may produce offensive speech or material, but they must take offense. Not every black guy you meet is offended by the N-word. Not every white guy you meet is offended by being called a cracker. Not every homosexual you meet is afraid of the F-word. Offense is taken, never given. If someone is offended, they have made the choice to be so. Furthermore, if you're offended, walk away or engage in debate. If you are so offended, say something. Maybe you just might have a conversation and learn something. You may have heard the word out of context if you were eavesdropping. Oh my God. This idea that a person can overhear something offensive and that should be a crime. That's what hate speech is all about. You're not allowed to have conversations with other people that somebody might find offensive. And the problem with that is we're not just talking about the N-word, the F-word, so on and so forth. We're talking about stuff like a couple of weeks ago, there was a college event at one of the campuses in the state I live in. And some kid, I shit you not, this happened. There was supposed to be an event for the students about to start, and a young kid was eating a banana, and he threw the banana peel over his shoulder into the woods, and the banana peel landed on a tree branch. So there's a banana peel in the tree branch. There is a banana peel in the tree branch. They shut down the student event because the banana peel in the tree branch might be construed as a triggering and racist remark. Suddenly our refuse is, even our unintentional refuse is performance art, and that art has adequate meaning as to be offensive. Good God, go back and read the Second Amendment. Not only do you not have the right to be heard, you don't even have the right to have your grievances redressed. You have the right to petition for your grievances to be redressed. That doesn't in any way guarantee that your grievances will be answered. It only guarantees that if you write a petition, you must be allowed to send that petition, to post that petition to the government. Guys, and you know what? You know what is absolutely amazing? Just amazing. I just looked at the clock here. He's not here. He's not here. That guy's not here. And somehow I've been running my mouth for a straight half an hour, almost without taking a breath. That half an hour just about got away from me. Shoo, buddy. So, let's see. I wanted to share something with you. So here's our, yeah, it's already a quarter till. That happened quick, didn't it? Shoo, buddy. Here we go, another White Hats Matter segment. Heartwarming tales of death and destruction, where we examine the lawful defense of self and others. Okay, so that's my original work, and so I may be a little biased, kind of like how I think my kids are cute, but I really like that particular splash screen. It's me talking, and I make me chuckle. So, ooh, let me back up a little bit. There we go. There we go. Teen shot, killed, trying to rob man walking his dog. Oh, baby. So, this one happened local to me. I'm just outside of Atlanta. This happened middle of last week. And I picked this one in particular for a reason. Yes, it's a DRT. We got a dead right there. And in most cases of lawful self-defense conducted by a lawfully armed concealed carrier, I am unapologetically thrilled to see a bad guy dead in the dirt, dead right there. Absolutely. I think we could do with a lot less bad guys. Batman said if you kill one murderer, the number of murderers in the world stays the same. I say you have to kill more than one then. That's easy math. And as we all know, the fastest way to become a Democrat is to skip your math classes. But this one, we have a teenage boy dead. Now, this teenage boy died. He was shot to death by a man walking his dog, and he was shot because he and his friends, there were a couple of them, He and his friend, there were two of them. Um, he was shot by the lawful concealed carrier when he and his friend attempted to rob the man at gunpoint. Do I suspect that there was a way out that involved not a teenage boy dying a horrible death at gunpoint? Yes. Would I prefer that a young man not have died and gone forward? Yes. However, as we like to say on the show, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This teenage boy, one of those lessons that we as parents must impart to our children is that if you go out on the street robbing people with guns, the likelihood that one of them's also going to have a gun is uncomfortably high. So, the moral of the story is don't try to rob people with guns. And mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be gangbangers. Raise them right. Raise them. Teach them right. Teach them not to rob people with guns. Teach them not to rob people at gunpoint. And teach them more, almost as importantly, if they have to go out and rob people at gunpoint, try not to rob people with guns at gunpoint. That's a good way to get at gunpoint. And I love my guns, and I prefer to stay on the right side of them. And I do that very carefully. This one's tragic. You get my trademark laugh, you get my DRT jokes, you get the White Hats Matter splash screen. That's all part of the show, and I love that stuff, and it's fun and it's funny. A teenage boy shot, killed. That's tragic. But the killing of the teenage boy is not the entire tragedy. The entire tragedy is the life that led to a teenage boy robbing a man at gunpoint in the street while he was walking his dog. Someone has failed that young man, utterly and totally failed him. I hate to end us on such a but that's that is the White Hats Matter story for the evening. So let me take us out on something a little more fun. This week, day before yesterday, in fact, was my baby girl's 5th birthday. And wow, we took her to the bouncy houses yesterday, a few friends, pumped them full of sugar and pizza and soda pop and cut them loose on the bouncy houses and wore them slap out. And we had a ball. So for some of you that know me best, I was a non-commissioned officer in the U.S. Army before I was a parent. And that has, shall we say, influenced my parenting style. When I need to speak to my children, when I need to speak to all 3 of my children, I just shout, "Fall in!" And they run and hop in formation. The 7-year-old, the 5-year-old, and the 2-year-old, they come in and they line up in formation in order according to height every time without fail. In fact, I am reasonably certain that if I was to crank that out good and loud right now, they would come running down both flights of stairs, all 3 floors into the basement, and they'd pop up to attention. Well, my mother had decided, and I say had decided because my middle daughter is the last of her grandchildren to turn 5. But for each of their 5th birthdays, Mommy's been buying the babies American Girl dolls. Last night, after the birthday party, I called the girls to fall in so I could serve them dinner, and all 3 of them, all 3 kids, come running in. Well, Penelope, my 5-year-old, she ran her happy little butt in just as fast as she could. She wasn't playing around. She ran into the kitchen and she stuck her brand new American Girl doll in formation at the position of attention before her brother and sister even got there to line up. And I just about died. In fact, as a matter of fact, I took a picture. So I will actually, apparently I will not share that picture with you because it is on a different device. Okay, I take it back. I will not be sharing the picture. Anyway, a lot of fun. Oh yeah, crack that whip. Absolutely, Sharon. We, I believe in spankings. I was spanked when I was a child. I use it a little differently in my house. It's a last resort. Spankings are where we progress to when we have refused to do push-ups. That's just how we do it here. So, but anyway, that's the show for tonight. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Sharon, Lucas, love you guys. Love that we see you almost every week. I understand that sometimes you have to do stuff. I understand. Oh, Sharon was spanked, and I don't know if y'all are up here where I am, but y'all see this gray beard remembers being paddled in school. That was a thing. So, I need y'all to spread the word. Share the show. Share it on Facebook. Share it on mine. Tell your friends. Make people watch it. Have parties. Get me subscribers. I need 1,000 subscribers post haste so that I can change the name of the channel to actually youtube.com/the Brushfire Mind, and we need to get up to 10,000 views to monetize again. They have demonetized us entirely. We need to get up to 10,000 total views to get our monetization back. And please help me with that. We're about halfway to the 10,000 views mark. And right now we're cracking between 50 and 100 a week. So that's a slow climb. I need some help with that. Share, tell people, like the video. Do me a favor, YouTube, make sure you leave a comment in the recorded video after the show, after we've gone off air, not just the live chat. And I appreciate the hell out of that. Yes, Lucas, I too really hope that we get all this shit sorted out and they stop messing around with our channels. Again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I will see you next week. Same fat time, same fat channel. And my name is Christopher Lowry. This has been the Brushfire Mind. And until next week, remember, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life. Good night.